Hello, everyone. So I was given a text message to begin. So I am going to assume that you can hear me fine and uh, that you can hear me fine. And if there is any disruption or technical issues, I'm sure Suzanne will let me know and I can re-begin or pause or something like that. So thank you, everyone. I am working from home in Washington, D.C., or I should say I actually am in Northern Virginia office in D.C. The NAR building would be just a couple of blocks from the U.S. Capitol because we want to communicate with members of Congress. Thank you all for who participate in NAR governance issues or any kind of realtor political participation because we want to show that this is democracy, that it is the people's who vote people in, and it should not be the government deciding on everything. So we want to make our voices known. But I'm working from home today because snow is falling all across. I think it's about 5 inches of snow. So, but anyway, let me begin and put the PowerPoint slide onto the screen and go from there. So actually, Suzanne used to make me a co-host so I can upload the slide onto the screen. As she is doing that, I think you may have seen some news item go across this morning to say that home sales were at their lowest since 1995. And that's what we have been collecting the data. The December figures were, again, a little decline. It may take a couple of months or maybe beginning next month that we really begin to see some pickup in home sales because it takes time for home buying process. It's not a snap decision. It is not like somehow there is a event and people go to electronics store to buy a television set the next day. Mortgage rates have dropped, but that does not mean that home sales immediately increase once the mortgage rate drop. It takes several months for the process to get started. First the mindset, trying to get mortgage approval, get the pre-approval letter, look for home, sign a contract, hopefully win the contract and determine when the closing date will be. So all that takes time. So I think the worst is behind us. I'm glad we are in 2024, the new year. 2023 was not a good year, but it's over and all the things are turning for the better now. So let me see the screen share. Yes, great. I can put it up. So bear with me. So this is my last slide. So let me just move it up to the beginning. So there we are. All right. So 2023 nationwide home sales on the red bar. I was hoping that at least it would not dip below 2028, but it did, and it went all the way to 1995. It should be 1995 on the print. But this is for realtors' business opportunity or what they were conducting in business. Top 2 years, last year, sales declined. I should say 2022, sales declined 18%. And in 2023, sales declined 19%, leading to this lowest home sales in many, many years. However, 85 million Americans who are property owners, homeowners, they're doing fine. They're smiling. These are your clients. 85 million Americans who have purchased homes with realtors. They're all smiling. They have seen their home prices rise. That is their housing wealth. So your clients have done well, even though you face some difficulty in business opportunity the past couple of years. Housing is cyclical. It goes up and down. But home prices held on firm or rise conditions, so your clients have done quite well and they are very pleased with what has occurred. Let me turn to the home builders. This is very interesting because home builders and realtors always move together. We are joined at the hips, always moving 1, 2, 3, 4, always in a line. But there is a divergence that happened. The December new home sales figure will be out in the next week. But as of November, home sales are actually higher for the builders in 2023. So what accounts for the difference between the builders and realtors? Realtors are challenged, but the builders have increased home sales. And the reasoning is that inventory. If you have homes to sell, you can get the deals done. If you don't have homes to sell, well, simply demand cannot be satisfied. On the left-hand side is existing home inventory, pretty much across the country. Inventory level today, roughly half of what it was compared to 2019 pre-COVID condition. So once COVID occurred, lockdown, then after the lockdown, we saw the surge in home sales. But right now, we don't have enough inventory. While for the builders, they can always create inventory. Lumber prices fluctuate. Trying to find skilled subcontractor may be difficult. Regulation, trying to overcome regulation is problematic. But once home is completed, one can sell it and make profit. And that's why home builder stock, whether KB Homes, Lennar, those national builders, their stock prices are up 60%, 70% from 1 year ago. So builders doing well because of the inventory availability. Look at the Prescott market. The December figure is indicating that sales were down 17%, which again is pretty much like it's similar to the nationwide activity. And the prices are up 19%. But what is unique in Prescott compared to the rest of the country is you are beginning to see more inventory. Inventory in December was up 16%. This is a very good sign about market development in 2024 because you have combination of more choices for consumers, more inventory, and mortgage rates have come down and people will respond to low mortgage rates. So combination of increased inventory, mortgage rate going down means that this spring buying season, look for some activity condition. Now, of course, higher home prices will limit some first-time buyers from trying it out, but Prescott figures is a little different from nation, especially on the inventory front. Let's look at the mortgage market because mortgage market will determine also how many buyers can come into the market. So this is first, the blue line shows the central bank policy on interest rates. Data begins from 2019, before COVID. So you can say 2019 is normal condition. In the middle is COVID years, lockdown, in the year immediately after the lockdown, zero interest rate policy by the Fed, blue line, zero interest rate, in the hopes that mortgage rate will decline. And the top line, orange line, mortgage rate did decline to their record low levels, 3%, 4% condition. But look towards the end, high interest rate, pushing up mortgage rate, really hammering away at the affordability. So not only do we saw a shrinkage in buyer pool, but also we didn't have inventory. Homeowners said, I'm not going to list my property. Why should I give up my 3% when the market interest rate is 8%? So they did not want to do that. Look at the orange line towards the very end point. What you are finding is mortgage rate have come down in the past 2 months. It had 8% in October. Today, it is 6.6% average. That's more than 100 basis point decline. And the blue line has not changed at all. But what has changed is the communication from the Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve has indicated they're likely to do 3 rate cuts this year. And in anticipation of that, the bond market, mortgage market already pivoted in anticipation of rate cuts. So the mortgage rate have already come down. So what is important for you and for your client is really that orange line. And orange line has come down. And furthermore, consumers witness 8% mortgage rate a couple of months ago. So today's mortgage rate, they will be comparing with that 8%. And it is lower. So you say mortgage rate of 6.6% is higher than 3%. But they saw the 8% and the new reference point, new comparison point is with that 8% and it is getting better. So lower mortgage rate activity. And so we are already seeing increased mortgage applications. That is the first step in the home buying process. We're seeing increased activity in opening of the lockboxes, and definitely more realtors are indicating they're getting phone inquiries about possibly getting into the market. Low rates stirring interest among potential buyers. Bond market pivoted because again, the communication, I look at the 10-year treasury yield first thing in the morning. This is providing the direction of the mortgage rates, and it has come down in the past couple of months. The only thing that could prevent any further decline in 10-year treasury is this terrible thing on national debt and federal budget deficit. Washington, elected officials, members of Congress, White House, they simply cannot get the budget deficit under control. Red line is tax revenue coming into Washington. April 15th, you send a check over to Washington, so all the revenue coming into Washington is red line. It is at a record high, highest tax revenue ever. But the blue bar shows government spending on everything. I don't know how much of the spending goes for taking care of people coming across the southern border, but I'm sure some amount is being dedicated for people coming across the border, which is very frustrating for Americans to say, we want to have a more orderly process of people coming into the country, legal immigration. People are all fine. People are welcoming of legal immigration, but illegal immigration, just randomly coming across, that's bothersome. I don't know how much of it, maybe it's a small amount of the outlay of the federal deficit, because certainly, things like national defense, Social Security payment, Section 8 vouchers, all that combined is all included in this chart. So in 2020, federal government spent huge amount, COVID, great uncertainty, and you may say it's justified. Blue bar really rocketed high. But today, after multiple years since then, we are spending as if COVID is still hanging around. Look at the level of federal spending. So high budget deficit could be one limiting factor as to why this 10-year treasury may not decline anymore, putting upward pressure on interest rates. So the mortgage rate right now, that could be the bottom unless somehow there's a credible plan to bring the budget deficit down. Let's turn to the job market. So this job, how many Americans are working? So this shows number of Americans working right before COVID, and then the disruption that you see is when we had the lockdown. Arizona was one of the first states to reopen its economy, so you are beginning to create jobs. But this is a national picture. Some states were late in terms of reopening their economy, but with each passing month, more job creation such that today we have 5 million more Americans working compared to pre-COVID condition. But the monthly job change, so not about the total jobs, how many new jobs are being added to the economy, net new jobs. So mathematically inclined individual, this would be the delta, the change in employment. So change in employment, as you see towards the recent months, is a little light compared to what it had been before. So in 2024, is the momentum going to turn into negative, meaning actual job cuts in sometime in 2024? Well, this year is an election year. It would have a huge implication on presidential election, where it would be a very bad news for the incumbent party if the job number was to turn negative. But if the job numbers hold steady and the positive or turns a little upward, then there will be a better news for the incumbent party. So let's see what happened on the jobs front. If we look at state by state comparison, Arizona is one of the top performers, not the very top, but one of the top performers. I don't know if people in the back can see the figure, so I will read it off to you. Arizona, 6.7%. 6.7% more people working now compared to pre-COVID. So this is good. So dark color that you see are doing super well. They're doing better than Arizona. So like, for example, Nevada, 10.2% more job. Utah, 10.4% more job. Texas, 9% more. Florida, 9% more. So there are some states who are outperforming Arizona, But after those top states, Arizona will be right there, doing better than national average. New York, they're essentially zero. They have not really added more job compared to pre-COVID. And some states, few states like Louisiana, Vermont, they are still struggling to come towards the positive. So light blue is positive, but lightly positive, trailing rest of the country. Arizona definitely above the national average. If we look at specifically at Prescott jobs from year 2017, 3 years before COVID and 3 years after, the middle is the lockdown. What you see in the middle is the lockdown. So before COVID, you were adding jobs, 2,000 job, 3,000 job each year. Then now we're past COVID, and look at the job number. Today it's at 70,000 people working in the Prescott region. So back in 2017, it was only about 63,000. So over this time span, you are looking at more than 10% growth in the jobs in the Prescott region. One thing about the today's presentation is I am able to deliver from Northern Virginia all the way to Prescott using Zoom technology. This Zoom technology has also afforded many people who used to work in Phoenix to say, look, I can work from Prescott. I can work from Flagstaff. I don't have to go to office in Phoenix every single day. So if you look at the job numbers in Phoenix, it is super high. I mean, this is a high number of jobs in Phoenix. Maybe some people say, I want more clean air. I want a little more elbow space. So maybe they will seek out Prescott. This trend in the Phoenix metro market is a very good development for the Prescott housing market, as some say remote people or hybrid model can begin to consider residents out in Prescott. Let's look at home prices. This is home price change from pre-COVID until the latest. So in Arizona, let me read off the figure for some people who cannot read it. 58% price increase in 3 years. Huge increase, 58% price increase. Your clients are super happy, or if you are a property owner, you have seen the property prices rise. So this has been a super good news for property owners. Bad news for renters who want to become first-time buyers. So there is a trade-off. But business activity is down. But remember, your clients are super happy. Your clients who purchased the home 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 10 years ago, they are doing all very well because of price increases. And here's the reflection of the wealth difference between renters and homeowners. Official Federal Reserve data, they have it only to 2022. And it shows that the wealth for a typical homeowner is $396,000. For renters, it's only $10,000. Renters are just spinning their wheel while homeowners are building wealth. So home ownership definitely providing that long-term wealth gains over time. Because people who have been homeowner for 30 years, larger number. People who have been homeowner for only 3 years, the number will be much smaller. But on average, this will be the difference in wealth between homeowner and renters. Mortgage rates forecast is currently at 6.6%. It's going to go down closer to 6%, I believe, unless federal budget deficits still continue to rise, then that will mess it up. But assuming they can contain deficit to some degree, the Federal Reserve will be cutting interest rate, I think 4 or 5 times. They have indicated 3 times, but I think there will be even deeper cuts for 3 key reasons. First, the rents will come down. There's so much apartment construction across the country. In Phoenix, you go to Dallas, you go to Florida market, so much apartment construction, and the rents are coming down, and that will hold down the consumer price inflation, allowing the Federal Reserve to cut their key central bank interest rate. The second reason, which the Federal Reserve is not talking about, but I'm sure they are aware. Do you remember the Silicon Valley Bank going under? Well, ever since then, Federal Reserve has provided a special credit line to community banks so they don't go under, but they're under deep stress. only way to alleviate this stress is to cut interest rate. So if the central bank do not want to have banking crisis, they have to cut interest rate. So it's something they do not talk about, but something they are clearly aware. So this is another motivation to cut interest rate. The third point is a little something technical, and it's better illustrated with a graph, the spread between government bond and mortgage rate. So I'm going to illustrate that on this next slide. This shows the spread between 10-year Treasury bond yield and 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Normally, the spread would be 2 percentage points. Today, it is abnormally high, 3%. But I think this wide spread will disappear. Why? Well, cutting interest rate will narrow the spread. One reason for this wide spread was when Federal Reserve aggressively raised interest rate, causing little chaos in the banking system. So that caused why the spread increased. So if the Federal Reserve is cutting interest rate, it will relieve some of this spread. Second part is that there are no more surprises. You know, when the Fed pursued their monetary policy past couple of years, Wall Street was surprised. But when the Federal Reserve, what they're planning on doing is no longer surprise. Market do not like surprises. And the third point is quantitative tightening. You know, during the COVID, Federal Reserve purchased large amount of mortgage-backed securities. Now they're unloading it, but the pace of unloading, I think, will slow down, and then that will begin to narrow the gap. So I mentioned the reasons. You don't have to know about it. I think what you need to know is the following. This morning, well, let me just go to my app and see. The 10-year Treasury in my app is showing that it is at 4.2%. 4.2%. If we had a normal spread, mortgage rate today would be at 6.2% today. So just narrowing the spread would be lower mortgage rate. And then we have the rate cut in the future. You can easily see why mortgage rate towards the year end could be near 6%. Going to 5%, I think that's a stretch. 4% is not going to happen. 3% is not going to happen. So 6% mortgage rate, I think, will be the new normal combination. So what does that mean? Lower mortgage rate means more buyers. We all know that. But I put this chart to indicate we may get a surprise. We may get more inventory. Prescott is already seeing more inventory. Rest of the country not, but maybe the rest of the country will also see more inventory. People do not want to give up their 3% rate. We know that. But life has moved on. Things like 7 million newborn babies. There are people who need to trade up. They need a larger size home. So they need to give up their starter home, put those on the market. 3 million marriages. Well, some of these marriages are among older people. Second marriage, third marriage, people in their 50s getting together. Well, other home now can be sold. Divorces always lead to more listings. Did you know 1.5 million divorce across 2-year time span? 7 million Americans have turned 65, especially in California. They're saying, I'm getting out of California. My work is done. I'm going to more place that is much more safe, and Arizona offers that. So you may see not more listing from this, but more people coming into Arizona. 4 million 4 million job creation, or actually that figure should be 5 million, but underneath that figure is 50 million job switches. So maybe some people who used to have a job in downtown Phoenix, now they have a job in outer suburb of Phoenix now. Their commuting patterns have changed. And now they're saying, I'm tired of this commute. So as they are considering being closer to their commute, then they begin to say, why not Prescott? Maybe Prescott is not that bad. I know you still have to drive more than an hour, but still I get much more value in the Prescott region. So some of the homeowners who have been delaying putting their homes on the market may begin to pop out this year, especially as interest rate begins to decline. So my final chart is this, that home sales, the worst is over. 2023 is done. We are so happy it's over. 2024, it will be an improvement. The blue bar is home builders. They improved last year and they will continue to improve this year, the blue bar. But the red bar is for the realtor sales. So the realtor sales this year, I think, is going to rise by 13% nationwide. Arizona higher. Why? You have faster job creation. So the Arizona number will be even better. Prescott may be one of the outperformer for Arizona because of the remote work possibility condition. My economic model is saying 13%. This is like trying to forecast how many inches of snow. Today in Washington, we're getting some snow. My visual observation is saying about 4 inches of snow, but the forecaster, they thought it was 2 inches. So whether you forecast 2 inches or other people may have forecast 8 inches of snow, but the reality is about 4 inches. So I don't know whether it's going to be 13%, 20%, but one thing is certain, the number will be positive, and it could even be 20%. And Arizona a little bit more, and Prescott even higher than that. So with this, thank you for giving me some opportunity to share some thoughts with you all. Be prepared for more listings. Be prepared for more people moving into Arizona, more people looking for homes out in Prescott. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.